and membranous labyrinths in the inner ear. Okay, let's do really quickly. Outer, middle, inner. Okay, we're gonna start. Outer ear. I am thinking of two structures. Let's start with this side. Give me one of the structures that is part of the outer ear. This is where we're going to start. The auricle. Good? Okay? Other side, give me the other structure that I'm thinking of. It goes by two different names. You can pick one. There you go. Ribs. Auditory canal. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put tympanic membrane in here anyway. And I'm abbreviating so that we don't spend a lot of time writing everything down. Okay? I'm abbreviating here, but on the practical, what do you think? Write everything out. Okay? Write everything out. Okay? Middle. We're going to start with tympanic membrane because this is also part of the middle ear. Okay? From this side, after the tympanic membrane, what is the first ossicle that sound is going to vibrate? Which one? This side, this side. Which is the first bone? Which is the first ossicle? There are three ossicles. Which is the first one? Malleus, guys. Okay, on that side, what's the next one after malleus? Incus. This side. What is the last one? Stapes. Awesome. Stapes is going to hit a window. A window. From this side, give me the name of the window that stapes is going to hit. Oval. And that is the beginning of the inner part. Okay? You have that oval window. That oval window. Okay, this is when things are going to start to get divided. What is the modality that is detected here? Hearing, equilibrium, or both? Hearing. Hearing, equilibrium, or both? Hearing, equilibrium, or both? Both. Okay, so let's do the hearing part of it. That oval window is going to take us into what structure for hearing? What is the name of the whole thing? Which one? What's it called? The cochlea. And then we've got, for our hearing, I'm going to divide that right there, because the cochlea has three tubes that run through it. What do we call those tubes in general? We don't call them tubes, but what do we call them? A what? Not that one. It's okay, it's okay. But we're going to put that somewhere. That's good, Lane, because we got to actually put that one somewhere. She mentioned the pharyngotympanic tube. That one I did not write on here, but it does belong to one of the three. Where do you find the pharyngotympanic or auditory tube? Where should that go, everybody? Outer, middle, or inner? This is the one that is going to lead from your throat, so we're going to put the auditory tube right here. Okay, it's a good thing that you mentioned that. The auditory tube, though, has nothing to do with hearing. What does this have to do with? Equalizing the pressure between both areas. So that's the auditory tube, not to be confused with the auditory canal, which is actually for sound. So auditory canal versus auditory tube. Now that we put that in there, we'll come back to our inner. Okay. This is where we talked about if we unrolled the cochlea and made it like a California roll, and we're making California rolls, right? What are the three passageways that are in there? Okay, from the oval window, we're going to start with this side. The oval window leads directly into which one of the three? Talk to your neighbors. Talk to your neighbors. You can do this, guys. You can do it. First off, it starts with scala. Which scala does it lead to? Vestibuli, scala vestibuli. Okay.
Wait, is that all? That's what I said, right?
You got it? Scala vestibuli? I heard it over there and I heard it kind of here. Okay, scala tympani. Okay, so where are we gonna put that? Should it be kind of in the middle or should I put it like kind of at the bottom? Bottom, very good. Okay, then who's the one that's in the middle? Scala media. The receptors that allow for us to hear. In which of the scalas does that exist? Vestibula, media, or tympani? Media. So I'm going to put a star right next to the media. What is the name of the organ that is going to allow for us to hear that is found in the media? The spiral organ or the organ of Corti. Either one is fine. But that is what's going to be found in the scala media. Where does this end? So the oval window takes us to the scala vestibuli. But when sound vibrations are exiting the scala tympani, what is the last window that's going to be here? What's that last window? If it's not the oval window, what's the other window? If it's not oval, round. I'm gonna erase this to make some room for that. I'm gonna put round window. Right about here, okay? And that was just for hearing. How about for our equilibrium? What should go under the equilibrium section? I'm looking for two sets from this side. Okay, so that side, stay quiet. From this side, give me one of the structures that are going to be for equilibrium. And you gotta tell me what kind of equilibrium it's for. Semicircular canals. And what kind of equilibrium is that for? Rotational. Okay? Right, this side. What's the other one? If it's not the semicircular canals, it's the one that's got the A's. Vestibule and that, yes. Give me the two. You said saccule. Give me the utricle. Okay, so saccule and utricle. Good. Those are both part of the vestibule. Okay, so we're gonna put them together. Okay. So let's put vestibule. And this is going to be for linear acceleration. So I'm gonna go and draw arrows that look like that. That's for linear acceleration. There are 3 semicircular canals. There are 2 pieces to the vestibule because we have 3 axes up here and we have 2 possible directions for the vestibule. So that's kind of a really quick review of what we already know. So name parts of the bony and membranous labyrinth, what that is, that's this section right here, okay? Pathways, okay, the receptors for hearing and equilibrium. Okay, we're gonna go inside these now. So we're gonna go inside the organ of Corti and we'll see what's there. Some of them you may already know. If you're filling this out on the lab worksheet, this is probably the last page that is there. And then semicircular canals, we're gonna have receptors in there and we're gonna have receptors in our vestibule, okay? So, we have our 3 sections as review. I'm going to just kind of go through this. This one, the whole thing is the oracle for the practical. I just want you to know the whole thing. All of these little details is just background information. That with every single part of that oracle, every single swirl, every single pattern, every single little bump actually has a different name. Okay, so all of these are going to be under this, but I'm not going to talk about it today. This one, look for a reference in your textbook, and you're good. Okay, so our outer ear with the pin out of the oracle has different pieces. We go through the canal, we've made it to the tympanic membrane. We go past the tympanic membrane, we've got our 3 ossicles, like we mentioned. Oval window brings us to the inner ear. We're gonna exit out of the round window very shortly. We've got our pharyngotympanic tube, which relieves the pressure in between those areas. A couple of muscles that you should know for next week. We have two muscles that are reflexive in that they protect our middle ear from very loud sounds. In other words, it limits the energy, limits the movement from the energy of our ossicles. One of them is called the tensor tympani, this long one that inserts on the malleus, and then we have stapedius, which is the really tiny one that inserts on the stapes. It is going to protect all of the ossicles from loud sound. As we are exiting out the middle ear, we're gonna now go into the inner ear, so that now we have three main structures. One of them is going to be for linear acceleration, one is for rotational, and one is going to be hearing. This is where I'm gonna slow down just a little bit, because this is an idea that we did not talk about in class, that you have to know for next week. The idea of a bony versus a membranous labyrinth. A labyrinth, you could think of it almost like a maze. That's another name for a labyrinth. It's like a maze. I want you to think of them as containers. And for this, I'm going to kind of bring up a very strange analogy that I've seen before, but I can't find any better one. An aquarium with a fish in it. Like what? An aquarium with a fish in it. So you have an aquarium, it's filled with water, right? You have fish in it. If you open up that fish, would you say that that fish is also going to be filled with water? It should, right? It's a living thing. Okay? We have two containers. We have the aquarium and we have the fish. Both the aquarium and the fish have fluid in it. The aquarium represents a bony labyrinth. And the water in the aquarium is called perilymph. The fish, because you know it's soft and squishy, unlike the aquarium, right? That's going to represent our membranous labyrinth. Inside the little fishy, we're going to find endolymph. Our vestibule, semicircular canals, and cochlea are all structured in that same pattern, every single one, which means every single one of those three is going to have a bony labyrinth, and it's going to have a membranous labyrinth, the squishy part that's inside it, okay? We're familiar with the cochlea. I'll tell you what the bony labyrinth entails. The whole thing is called the cochlea, that's the bony labyrinth. The aquarium part is the scala vestibuli and the scala tympani. The little squishy fishy is what? The scala media. Whatever is inside the membranous labyrinth are going to be our receptors for hearing and equilibrium. So whatever is the version of the membranous labyrinth, this is where we find the actual receptors for that one modality, whether it's equilibrium or it's hearing. So vestibuli and tympani, this is why they are filled with which fluid? That's the aquarium, not the fishy. Perilymph or endolymph was filling the aquarium, not the fishy. Perilymph. Periphery, surrounding, that's one way to remember it. So, vestibuli and tympani filled with perilymph. What is the scala media filled with if that is the little membranous labyrinth, the little fishy? What's it filled with? Endolymph. Endolymph. Okay? So take that idea, and then we're going to apply it to the other parts, for equilibrium now, for equilibrium. So I said there's always going to be a version in each one. And this is how you're going to fill out this last part. Okay. This is where we are now. So especially in here, so this one, number 3, 1 to 10, the sound wave will have to travel through our ear to be detected by the cochlear hair cells and processed by auditory cortex. So with this one, we're gonna kind of end over here with our cranial nerve number 8. Okay, once we get past the cranial nerve number 8, we're eventually gonna go into the that the sound vibrations would be traveling, okay? So some of the scales are represented here, some of them are kind of happening at the same time. So, at the end here, inner ear structure with associated components, bony labyrinth, these are your three choices of the bony labyrinth. There is a sensory epithelium that's going to exist in the membranous labyrinth, and each of these are going to have a different name. As part of the sensory epithelium, there is going to be a structure that sits on top of the sensory epithelium. That's what I'm looking for here. And modality is pretty easy because we already answered that. So equilibrium, rotational equilibrium for here, what should be in your vestibule? If this is rotational equilibrium, what should you put for vestibule? Linear equilibrium, that's okay. And what should we have put in here? What is the modality that is detected by the cochlea? You might be thinking super deep into it. Why do we have the cochlea? For?
Rotation.
Hearing. Okay, so hearing or sound could be up here. So this part we're filling out right now. Back to here. Let's go with our vestibule. Utricle and saccule. The utricle and saccule are the membranous labyrinths that are located inside the vestibule. One is going to be for horizontal, the other one is going to be for vertical. The utricle one was for horizontal, the saccule was for vertical. Utricle is the one that's the higher one. Saccule is the one that is the lower one. And these are these little membranous labyrinths. They contain endolymph because they are membranous labyrinths. The sensory epithelium that exists in each of those little eggs is what's called macula. So this is macula. And on top of that macula is going to be a layer on top of it that's called the autolymphic membrane. So when the hair, all of these are mechanoreceptors. So when the hair cells bend, the hairs at the top are going to get stuck in the autolymphic membrane, and it's going to move the autolymphic membrane too. And this is how we're able to detect our linear acceleration. So this would be the sensory epithelium, the macula, and sitting on top of it is the autolymphic membrane. Horizontal, like I said, is the utricle picks up on horizontal, saccule is for vertical, autolymphic membrane, I talked about it. So if anybody says that they have rocks in their ear, that would actually be a true statement. Autolymph, what they are tiny little rocks. Tiny little rocks. Why do we have to have the tiny little rocks? Because we're going to use gravity in order for us to detect our linear movement. Okay? Gravity is going to act on these little rocks. Semicircular canals, there are 3 of them. At the bottom of each canal, inside, there is a little swelling. That little swelling is the membranous labyrinth, and that's called the ampulla. Inside the ampulla, this is your version of the sensory epithelium. Is everyone filling this out, by the way? Try to fill it out. This is the thing that's due tomorrow, okay? Sensory epithelium is the crista ampullaris. Sitting on top of the crista ampullaris is this little cap. This one right here, that's called the cupula. Same idea. Your sensory epithelium is going to be some kind of a hair cell, and then there's something sitting on top of it. And let me ask you, what do you think this area, what kind of fluid do you think is found in this area? Knowing what you know about the membranous labyrinth and lingual fissure. What kind of fluid do you find in that area? Paralymph or endolymph? Endolymph. Endolymph is always the fluid that immediately surrounds the sensory epithelium. Every single time. Every single time. So those are our semicircular canals. Then we're finally at the cochlea. 2 chambers filled with paralymph. Got it. Vestibuli and tympani. Vestibuli starts from the oval window, tympani ends at the round window. They sandwich the membranous labyrinth, and we're going to call that membranous labyrinth the scala media or the cochlear duct. And when we find in that cochlear duct, everybody, the what? Endolymph and the pony. That is the sensory epithelium. That's the sensory epithelium. And what pattern are we always looking for? The sensory epithelium will always have hair cells. And there's always going to be something that sits on top of the sensory epithelium. What is the name of the sensory epithelium? The organ of Corti. What is the thing that sits on top of it? It's on that slide. Which one? The tectorial membrane. Very good. Tectorial membrane is going to sit on top of those. Tectorial membrane is this thing right here. That's the tectorial membrane. So that's our spinal organ. So that brings us now to the hearing pathway. These are all of the steps that are after the external ear. So if you want a full answer, include the auricle and the auditory canal before this number. If you want the complete answer when you are writing it down. Tympanic membrane, 3 ossicles in the order that they appear. Fluid, oval window. After the oval windows, fluids within the cochlea. Which fluids within the cochlea, to be specific, that means we have to go through the scale of vestibuli, and we end up sending the energy from those waves to vibrate our scala media and our scala tympani at the same time. Once we get that, the organ of Corti and the scala media, the hair cells of the organ of Corti are going to bend as a result of that. So then that's where we have our conversion to a neural signal. So from that receptor, just like what we did with the eye, from the receptor, we go with the resulting signal, we go through cranial nerve number 8, and then from cranial nerve 8 to the thalamus, and then finally the primary auditory cortex in the temporal lobe. So that is the path of our neural signal. Okay? 3 main regions of the ear, pathway of sound, specific structures for position, linear acceleration. I think this is plenty of your review. Okay, close your eyes, show hands. How confident are you with the eye? How confident are you with the eye with identifying structures of the eye? Show of hands with the eye. Structures of the eye. Remember, there's got 2 cavities with fluids, 3 tunics, and once you've got that, then you'll be good. Okay? All right, keep your hands up. How about the ear? 3 regions. There's structures in each region. Some are for hearing, some are for equilibrium. Once you've got that, you'll be good. Okay, hands down. All right. So I think we covered what we want to cover. Thursday, we have to start playing basketball. We do. And we're going to start with blood. We're going to start with blood. I know your exam is next week already. We're going to include special senses as well. But heavier emphasis on chapter 12 with the action potential, 13 and 14. Okay, there's a lot that's going to be in it. So please come to my student hours. I'm still going to have student hours. So after the practical today, I'm going to hang out for a little bit, and then I'm going to have student hours at my usual time. Please come. All right? Even though we're starting cardiovascular on Thursday, please attend lecture. Please attend lecture. You guys being here today, that is excellent. All right? You guys make a decision to come in here at 8 o'clock. And it's a wonderful decision, and I'm so happy that you are here. All right? So, Tuesday section, I'm gonna give you guys like every 15 minutes to sort of study. Thursday.